So I'd like to invite us into Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. There we find Joseph talking to his brothers, and he says this to them: "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph had such a confidence in God's intentions being good. And he had that confidence not because he was now at the end of the journey and it was all coming up roses, so he could now say that God was good and he had confidence in him. We see this confidence even in the midst of his journey. For example, when Pharaoh called Joseph to interpret his dream, we see Joseph's confidence in God. He says, "I cannot interpret it, but God can." Joseph's confidence in God's goodness was also not based on his road wasn't really hard, so it was easy for him to trust God. Because we hear his brothers in Genesis 42 describe Joseph as having anguish of soul, the King James Version puts it, when they were threatening to kill him and were throwing him in the pit. So this was not an easy road for Joseph, but he had a confidence in God's goodness, and it's because he understood the bigger picture. God was saving many lives through what had happened to him. And the same is true for us. We are part of a larger tapestry. What goes on in our lives, God cares about on an individual level, but he also cares about it because he in his sovereignty has ordained it as part of a larger picture. And not just a larger picture here in history, but a larger picture that has eternal implications. We see this with Jesus in Hebrews 12, verse 2. It says, "For the joy set before him, he endured the cross." Jesus had a long-range, eternal perspective that allowed him to deal with the ordeal of the cross. And that same verse says to us, "Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith." Where we put our focus is important. And if we put it in the temporal, we're going to be disheartened. But if we put it on the author and perfecter, the one who is authoring this script and perfecting it because he has a big picture and an eternal plan that he is working, we will be heartened, we will be encouraged, and we will be more useful in God's kingdom purposes. So I encourage you and I encourage me today to fix our eyes on Jesus and have that confidence that his intentions are good.